Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Coming in Clutch. I'm your host, Lorenzo Iacomini, aka The Speedy Guidi. And guys, we got a great show for you today, and I forgot to mention you. You're important too.
Yeah, I'm
What's
pretty
your name?
important here. I'm also the host. My name's Cody Lewis, aka the LA Car Spotter.
Yeah, we got a really great show for you guys. We got an amazing guest.
An absolutely amazing guest, a good friend of mine. He is an extremely accomplished architect and designer. He's got an impeccable taste and knowledge of cars, and currently is doing a collaborative effort with his architectural efforts and BMW as well. So his name is Dan Brunn.
Thank you for that
Welcome, Dan Brunn.
awesome introduction. And thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome
Awesome.
welcome to the show in the middle of the pandemic. You still came on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You got to have some sanity, and you got to see people, and, it's a good chance. I haven't seen you in so long, Cody.
I know, it's been crazy.
And I've avoided a lot of the car meets.
That's probably why we haven't seen.
Yeah, and that's probably why you haven't seen me. And it's not because I don't want to go. It just got a little out of hand. I went to one in Malibu.
So out of hand.
About a month ago, and it's a bit ridiculous. And the problem is that I think our car community is okay, but some of the people that come to see the cars are a bit much. And so you pull in, and the people are like right in your face or want to touch stuff, and I'm like,
I also think it's the fact that we're kind of limited right now with the amount of car gatherings. So
yes,
you don't, especially with that Malibu one, you don't have like a vintage car gathering, a Porsche car gathering. It's just like every single type of car and every single type of car fan.
There's a lot of riff-raff.
Hold on. Have you been
That
going
too.
to the Los Angeles? What is it? The Cars and Coffee done by, I guess, L.A. or something like that. There's a lot of good cars there now.
The Westlake one,
Yes.
that one
No.
I haven't been back to, but I've just recently been told that that's the one to go to.
I just see it on
We
Instagram.
probably shouldn't even talk about it right now. Or
We
else all
shouldn't.
these people
We
are gonna
shouldn't.
go.
But the quality of the cars has gone up really high there.
We should. Is there one every weekend?
I don't know.
Well-
I always see it after the fact, and then I'm like, why wasn't I there? I'm like,
We
shit.
should try and find out when that is.
Who
We
didn't
should go.
invite me?
Exactly. It's also too early. Like, I need my sleep.
I'm not gonna lie, like it's become a pretty regular thing, which I'm not happy about. But these shows are like 6-7 o'clock in the morning.
I kind of like it. I like waking up early. I'm
Yeah.
kind of a morning guy now.
I'm a morning guy.
I'm a morning person,
but I like to be in my house in the morning and like
Yes.
doing like
Yes.
my own thing in
Yeah.
the morning, not interacting with people in the
Right.
morning.
And honestly, I
right.
got sick and tired of seeing the same exact cars every time. So for
That's
me, it was
true,
like,
that's
okay,
true.
so let me understand this. So I am dragging myself out there so that I could see some of my friends, which is great. But it's the same stuff again and again and
Totally.
again. So I'm not that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's why we like going to Malibu, only because Jay Leno will show up and something different every single
Totally
time.
random,
and we're like that. Like we all kind of wait for Jay Leno to show
Mhm.
up in his McLaren F1. Then we're like, holy shit!
That was awesome.
But then and then other days he doesn't. It's like, oh, more BMW M4s and
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did they
Corvettes.
bring the M4s out there?
no, just like What are they called?
Oh,
no, not the
just
new,
one.
not
Yeah.
the
No,
new
no, no.
M4s yet, but it's just kind of like the BMW group. So all like, especially with that Malibu show, it kind of like comes in waves. So the really good vintage or like cleaner stuff kind of happens early in the morning, and then when it starts to get maybe like 9 or 10, then some of these like exotic rallies kind of finish up their canyon runs and they land in Malibu Country Mart. And then later on, the other people, everybody else just starts to wake up and they're like, well, let's go to Malibu Country Mart. And those are like the M4s and the
Yes.
and the
Yes.
Miatas and a bunch of other.
And that's
you know.
probably the last time when I was there. I probably showed up around that time, and I was like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
and it's a fun meetup, but it no longer becomes a car show. It's just
No.
a meetup.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was kind of that thing. It's not really a show. It's a meetup. It was like impromptu. Nobody planned it. It was just kind of like organic from having no shows from COVID.
Yeah.
So can't hate on it.
No, definitely not.
But I enjoy.
People with passion,
I
Can't
enjoy
hate
it,
on
but
that.
but like you said, like I don't get to see as many people as I used to at all the other shows. I definitely miss out on guys like you.
Yeah. No, same way.
Yeah. So actually my iPad just died. It was poor planning, so we're gonna have to share.
Well, hey,
we're
let's
gonna
get
have to share
into
this.
let's
you guys
get
are cheating, huh?
Yeah,
What you
let's-
got for number 2?
yeah. We got some really tough questions here. I don't know. I hope you studied.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Well, I've been warned, so.
Yeah. All right. So Dan, not a lot of our listeners or followers may know who you are. So why don't we just get into how you became an architect? Like what did you do to get to where you are today?
A lot.
Yes.
Start with question 1.
Yeah, no, and actually, it's one of the things I don't want to gloss over because I think a lot there's a damage done a little bit with social media, and that is that you see kind of instant success or instant whatever it is, and I don't think the younger generation truly understands that there is. I don't think that exists. That doesn't. I mean, for some. It is because it might have been like some, trust fund. But my passion got started really early on. As we mentioned right before, I grew up in Tel Aviv. Hold on, I'm going to put her down. My passion got started in when I was probably 7 years old. I grew up in Tel Aviv, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site for Bauhaus architecture. It's actually the biggest amount of this international style building anywhere in the world. So I grew up experiencing this modern architecture. My grandparents' house, my parents' house, was an open plan is what they call it. Everything that we talk about, like we think about today in like California architecture and indoor, outdoor living, sliding glass doors, terrazzo floors, all of that was inherent to me. And then quintessential, Legos, that was huge. So my grandfather used to come in and bring Lego kits for myself. And I used to not follow the directions because my grandfather honestly didn't read the fact that it said like 14 years or older and I was 7 years old and I couldn't figure it out. So I came up with my own stuff. And then when I came to the States, it was the opposite, right? So all of a sudden, I'm in this Spanish style home, loosely Spanish style, no windows, dark, dingy. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, why do we have this after I grew up in a very similar climate? And it was, it was airy and it was beautiful. And it made sense. And I think I started to think like, how do I make a change? And I think that's started to click for me.
Interesting. And that's why you went towards architecture, because you wanted to change the landscape of the architecture in Los Angeles.
I think I don't know if I was that profound, but I think I inherently knew that the space that we occupy does have a deliberate effect on our well-being. And, people talk about that more and more today, wellness. So I think I wanted to practice that. Okay, now back it up. And we are here, talking about cars, essentially. I had a dream of being a car designer, probably simultaneous to architecture. And I actually applied to schools with a portfolio of car design, not building design. And that was my dream. But I somehow didn't like how the industry works, where, you end up becoming the guy who designs the door handle, and the person that designs the windscreen, and the person that does the UI, it's very far
segmented.
Segmented and very far and few between that you have Pininfarina, or design the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
I didn't like the playing field, and I felt that architecture gave me a little bit more of a way to do a holistic design where everything is thought of.
Right.
But now I've come to realize that yes, it's true, but it's also very much a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It steered me in that direction at the time as a kid.
Yeah, I feel like car design now, especially now, there's not much creative freedom, right? You have to jump through hoops. You have to do pedestrian safety, and you're right. There's one guy who designs the side mirrors, and with the house you have a little more creative input, right?
But you have a lot of other restrictions, so we can't glaze over that. But
I just think it's a bad time to be a car designer.
Well, I think it's also like with car designs, a lot of these cars and these brands have built in design elements that they don't want to stray too far away from, or they've created an image for themselves. So when they bring on a designer, designers, like he said, are very rarely they come out of automotive design school drawing pictures of cars.
Yes.
But they're not going into these car companies designing cars from start to finish, because the car company has already said, this is what we want our car to look like.
Yeah, and
we want you to make an ergonomic handle, or ergonomic steering
and
wheel.
I think inherently where maybe some of the older brands have failed is coming back into it and saying, well, this is the shape of the car because that's our heritage.
Yeah.
That's not your heritage, actually. The heritage is what the ethos was of making that shape.
Yeah.
So that, there's the expression form follows function. And so that shape was born, and I'm glazing over a certain car manufacturer that makes the same shape for forever. But that shape was...
I think I know who it is.
Yeah,
we've talked about him lovingly. But that same shape made sense at that time.
Yeah.
Right.
And
it's iconic. It is beyond iconic.
But you need to search deeper than that.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that, in architecture school, like, you would fail. Like, honestly, like, the teacher would just fail you right there and then. If they made, like, the Volkswagen New Beetle.
Yeah.
I loved what it looked like. Actually, I like the second generation of it. But it makes no fucking sense. At the time,
Totally.
the engine was in the back. Everything made sense. The compartment, blah, blah, blah. All those things made sense. Just like a Tesla makes sense that there's storage in the front, right? No.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here looking at, Frank Sinatra's Thunderbird, and then there was a newer version of Thunderbird that looks almost the same, but that wasn't the ethos. The result, aesthetic, wasn't the ethos, and we need to soul search, I guess, for what the ethos is of a brand, and that's the most important thing.
I think that's kind of what is happening with BMW.
Hey, that's where I think BMW, by the way, I think is kicking ass. And it's the sense of, like, if we look at, what the car industry might say is, a mistake, or what are they thinking, with the I division, right? Like, let's say I had the i8 for 2 years. It was spectacular car. And without it, we wouldn't be where we are with a lot of other cars that we just saw that are out there and the way that they're made. Somebody has to take those risks. And as far as I know, when I look out there, I see a lot of electrification. I don't see a lot of rethinking the actual chassis, rethinking the materials, rethinking what are we doing with the materials, how are we producing all these things, how are we actually bringing a car to market, and what is the life cycle of the car, and what happens to it afterwards.
Right.
So
it's funny because you come from, like, the school of architecture and the school of design, and my education is in industrial design, so I'm like, if furniture design was my thing. And it's funny because they're two totally different schools of thought. And when you think of design on like a high level, you always think, like, good design is good design. Like, if you create a good design, then it'll be good forever. Like, one of these, like, all of these Ames chairs, and I'm obsessed with mid-century modern design, like furniture and architecture, and I mean, those designs are iconic and they never have to be changed or altered, but when you talk about car design, it's totally different. It's like every year, just from the nature of the car industry, every year or so, you need to slightly modify your design. And although you've come out and been like, this is a huge design feat, and we just spent so much time designing this car to make it perfect, in 2 years, they're going to change the headlights. And in 2 years, they're going to adjust the taillights.
And that's marketing, and that's necessary. Let's say that's necessary for marketing. But I was at a car release, I think it was 2 years ago, at Art Center in Pasadena with Chris Bangle. And he's a revolutionary, and everybody, the Bangle butt, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Everybody is doing that. That's the funny thing.
Everybody's copying.
Everybody has that. And it was hated. But I don't want to talk, because that's just aesthetic, so that's not that important. But we did just talk about seams, and that was a way to resolve a seam.
Yep.
But he introduced a car, and I say that loosely as car because it's not. It was
an automobile.
No. He said a moving living room, essentially, is the way that he described it.
Yeah.
And that's the future. And I just, we were just talking about it, saying like 90s cars are going to be worth a lot because of certain inherent qualities. But in the future, it's going to essentially be utilitarian A to B for the most part in automotive. And how do you do that? And he came up with this car that had, the seats that moved inside and became, and I don't know if you saw it, probably didn't get a lot of press around, but it was BMW did do the i3. They rethought about it. They actually released it at CES, and it was a living room inside of the i3, and it was a way.
The i3?
The i3.
The tiny i3.
Yeah.
Let's look
they
it
had
up.
a living
Let's
room
look
in
it
it?
up.
Yeah, they redid it.
We're obviously going to have pictures showing it
okay.
right
It's called
here.
the i3 what? Is there
I
specific?
don't know if it had a name.
i3 living room.
I don't know if it would be called even a living room because that's the word that Chris used.
But yeah, I mean, I think that they're, like, you're right. Like,
Canoe. You know Canoe.
Found it.
There you go. Yeah. And Canoe.
Just kidding. Never mind.
Oh,
Oh, wait. This is it. Urban Suite.
Urban Suite. See?
okay, so like they took out the front passenger seat.
Yep.
They made
It's
it
just-
more
it's
of like a womb chair.
There's
in
a
the
lamp.
back
There's a
almost.
lamp back there. That's
They-
phenomenal.
It's literally a womb chair. If you know the
Yeah.
the Saarinen womb chair, it's a womb chair in the back.
It's
It's what it kind of reminds me of an extremely tiny version of that Bentley 100 that they made, where the driver's seat and then the passenger seat is like behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think that there's obviously like two schools of thought when it comes to the future of cars or automotive or transport or whatever. There's obviously an extremely large group of people who are not automotive enthusiasts, who don't give a shit about driving their car. They just want to get from point A to point B. And I've seen concepts of like a train pulling into your living room, opening up, you step in and it pulls out. And like for some people that might be great, but for enthusiasts, like that will never work.
No.
And
But see, that's the funny thing is, like, if I look at the Porsche lineup, I think the GT4, the 718 GT4 is one of the best cars that anybody could buy out there right now for fun.
Amen.
And it comes with this with a manual,
for fun,
and
yeah.
it's totally amazing, And I think that in their lineup, that is the best thing that they got going on.
Yeah.
And it's not a Carrera. And guess what? It goes back to what I was saying before about the shape. That car embodies the Porsche ethos better than any other car that they have out there today. It's an incredible machine. And that to me is like an important thing to remember is like, okay, what is the ethos of the brand? Who are we trying to please? And that is something that we need to figure out that way instead of thinking about how do we package something.
Right.
So you have that side, which I think will last, right? So the enthusiast cars, there's going to be that. That's going to be like, let's say, two-door, like fun weekend cars. That's going to be one part of the future. The other part of the future, sedans are going to be gone. And so are SUVs are going to be gone. And there's going to be these kind of like vans, urban suites that go around town that are self-driving. And you could just go with your family and you could go to the woods and you could go to the market, whatever the hell you want to do.
You could fill it with ski equipment and just go to Montana.
So it's kind of, remember there was like the Mazda MPV and like.
Oh my God, that thing was amazing.
It was amazing. So,
Yeah.
Wow.
but imagine having that with automated driving.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I mean, even these days, I grew up in the minivan era. You know, like my parents were driving Plymouth's Woody side minivans with sliding doors and town and countries, and then I grew up and I looked back at what the minivan options were like now, and it's basically that minus the self-driving. I'm sure they're incorporating self-driving into that at some point or to some degree, but like, yeah, the front seats can spin around. There's a table that comes up in the middle. The thing has Wi-Fi, and essentially it's like a Winnebago, like a Minnebago.
Yeah, Minnebago. I love that.
A Minnebago.
And I think, I don't know.
I just coined that. Don't take that from me.
And I think that's really a part of our future automotive world.
So you think that, like, all right, but is this electric?
Absolutely.
Okay.
People that are holding on to petrol and all that stuff, man, let it go.
I can't.
You have to. I mean, in new cars,
Get
you
a
need to let it
garage
go.
and collect them.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good- okay,
get
that's a
that
good point.
997 we were talking about. Hold on to it. Don't
Good
let
point.
it go.
Buy a
That's
house
great.
at the Thermal Club.
Yes.
Have a garage full of super
that.
petrol
But
cars.
in the
Yeah.
future, I mean, is definitely electric. You know, it's either
Yep.
it's battery powered, fuel cell. I don't know what that part
Right,
about
right,
it
right.
is. Like but it's changed. You know, I had the i8 and that was a hybrid, and you know it was early on, so it's pretty primitive. Man, that thing was such a joy, and people didn't understand because you know you look at it and you're like, oh, is it a supercar? Because it looked like it should be, and
Yeah.
it doesn't drive like a supercar. Wasn't intended to be a supercar, so it was a difficult place for it in that sense. But man, I drove that car 1,000 miles in a day once,
Wow.
and it was so comfortable the
Wow.
whole way. And I was just like, this is insane.
How much gas did you use?
Doesn't take it's 60 miles per gallon.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
remarkable.
So what was okay? So I'll give you an interesting thing. So I had the F10 M5 and that car at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I think the difference in 0 to 60 was 0.5 seconds, something like
Wow.
that. A difference between
Minimal.
the two.
Yeah.
One of them was 12 miles per gallon,
One of
and
them
one
was
was
60.
That's remarkable.
I mean,
So-
that's crazy.
It's
That's
crazy.
innovation.
But they
baby.
they've obviously gotten rid of the i8,
Yeah.
and are they like adjusting that technology, or are they kind of eliminating?
We're gonna
are
see
they
the
doing
i4,
all
we're gonna
electric?
see- yeah, all electric mostly.
So not the gas hybrid.
Well, no,
system.
because that stays on like the E series, right? So like the 530e,
Gotcha.
or
Okay.
the 540e, or
So-
those things. So this is gonna be both.
So the I series is just 100% electric.
Yeah.
Got
which
it.
is awesome.
I got a question, and that's I want to go back to the ethos. I like that
Yeah,
whole ethos
yeah.
thing. You talk about the GT4. GT4 hits then Porsche ethos nail in the head.
Yeah.
Why
What?
do you say that?
Well, he said that.
Yeah. Why do you?
It's a driver's car. It was about minimalism. It was about creating the most for less. It was that what I just said about the Bauhaus and the less is more. That's what that GT4 is. That the original, like, you know, you go back to the 356 and the first 911s, that's what they were.
Yeah.
The back seat was hardly there. Like the shape was derived from a necessity of aerodynamics, you know. And then the GT4 hits the nail, you know, because the engine's right in the middle. You get the right weight distribution.
It's simple, and
yes.
you know another thing is that the 911 was originally never like a hype car. It was always like what's what I'm looking for.
Every man's
No,
car.
it's a
It was the
utilitarian.
utilitarian, but like now a 911 is like a status symbol. So
It's
to
also
have
too big. The
yeah.
car is freaking huge.
absolutely,
Yeah.
so to have a Cayman's
Yeah,
kind of
it's
like
big.
having an old 911. It's
Yeah.
kind of like spat on, and no one really thinks twice about it.
I had
right?
3 Boxsters, by the way.
That's awesome.
And
That's something that you don't tell people. You don't say that out loud.
I'm proud of it. Again, I will
I'd be
say
proud.
this. I will
I
say
heard
this,
they drive fantastic.
They
but
do,
the-
and it's the best convertible the Porsche has made. That by far, the Carrera
yeah, the cabs.
sucks.
Cabs.
Like, I'm sorry, it just makes no sense. It doesn't even look good. It has a big ass.
It's so true.
It's
a bathtub.
Yeah.
but the Boxsters, I mean, I think even from the original 986 Boxster, it was a clean car. It was beautiful. They pushed a lot, and I enjoyed the fuck out of them. I really, really.
Hell yeah.
So I had a 986, I had a 987, and it was a 987.2, and the 987.2 actually was a PDK I wanted to try. It was interesting, but I ended up outgrowing them literally because I couldn't fit like the
Right.
So it became a kind of difficult daily driver.
Right.
And that's where I think that the GT4 is actually a better car. There's a little bit more room there.
I love the GT4. But
I
okay,
love
so the GT4 hits the nail on the head with the ethos. What car brand or model do you think strays the complete opposite side of that? Do you think there's a car brand that is just way too far off from
The
its
same.
original?
The
Just
same-
misses the mark.
I think the same brand
The same brand.
as the GT4 Porsche. Yeah, I think
So you think modern 911s are just way
So
off?
they nailed it with the
Uh,
GT4, but everything
yeah,
else they've just
yeah.
kind of missed the
I
mark.
think so. For
Wow.
me, it ended with a 997.
997,
It was
wow.
over.
wow.
I have a client that has a 991 Turbo S. Wow, I did not enjoy that at all. I mean, I've driven. They're just big. They're no.
They are.
There's a few extra inches on
each
in
one.
every
So what's the
direction.
They are
point? I don't know
massive,
what's
yeah.
the point. I don't get it. I'm not really into how the marketing works for them. We just talked about it, the collecting and the exclusivity.
They're
So-
just a big corporation now, right? They're just selling
So
a hell out of
Also,
cars.
actually, you know what? We could go back to something else. I think like 1996's mid 90s Audis. That was Bauhaus done to a T.
Hell yeah.
To a TT. You know.
Well, I was gonna say the
it was
TT
perfect.
is
Perfect.
the Bauhaus
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
20 years later,
Yeah.
the thing still looks absolutely impeccable.
Badass. But now, I mean, that RS6 we saw back there, it's a killer car. Okay, it is. There's no doubt about it.
It's a killer modern car, though.
But there's so many weird lines on it.
Yeah.
You know, and it actually started with the second A5 S5 that came out. And if you go
Yes.
look to see the body line, the original one had a straight
Over the
line.
tires and
And
stuff.
then all of a sudden, it looked like
yeah.
a freaking like a Taurus. Like,
Yeah.
what is
Yeah.
going on?
I still don't like the RS6 grill. Like everyone loves it. It's fucking huge,
The
man.
RS6
It's huge.
grill.
The RS6, it's too
Well,
big.
to me,
I
it looks like Jack Nicholson Joker. It's like somebody,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
pulled it on
Everyone's
the
talking
I
about
like-
the.
I
Everyone's
just
talking
like-
about M4 grill.
I just
man.
like
Look at
when
that
it's
grill.
like cruising down the street, its mouth wide open like a blue whale,
I
just
think
looking
it's
to
yeah.
eat every piece of plankton fly that's out there.
No, I
No.
think it's a badass car. There's no doubt about it. But there's no restraint.
Yeah, it's funny because people in America who are just seeing this car, like just getting introduced to it now, are kind of like, holy shit, just like literally losing their minds over it. But the European guys that have been seeing the previous generations are kind of like, it's okay. They're like, you know, it's an improvement, but like they're not super thrilled. They've been, you know, more
But-
thrilled with other models.
But I remember I lived in Italy when the original S3 hatchback came out,
Wow.
and it was so simple. And I remember just like
Oh, that one had great.
Where'd you live in Italy?
taillights.
up north, Lake Como. Yeah, it was
Beautiful.
amazing. Really.
My dad's from Florence. So
Oh, really?
Yeah, parli italiano. Yeah. I love
Yeah,
Lago
he
di
doesn't.
Como.
He doesn't. Le de berry frites.
That too. Yeah.
See, he doesn't
I
speak
really,
Italian.
before I die, I must go to the Villa d'Este car show.
Oh my God. Yeah.
50 trillion
Oh,
times.
So,
yeah,
let me
we
tell you
definitely
this.
both
I
have to
must
go.
go.
So hilarious. So as I mentioned, lived in Como. My school that I went to was one villa south of Villa d'Este,
Oh my God.
and I didn't know about Villa d'Este. And I think it was the Z8 that was there released when I think it was a Z8, and I was walking back from lunch in the city, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And I didn't know that there's a car show at Villa d'Este. I was like ignorant. And I walked up, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God. And I snuck myself in to like go check it all out. And I said I was
swear-
a student and
Wow.
blah, blah, blah. And
I swear to God, that's the coolest show ever.
it's incredible.
And the setting, it's just.
incredible. And actually, I think, when I was there, it was like pre-internet days. It was.
We still really want to do the Mila
I'm-
Media. We
I'm
have a
dying.
couple
Oh, yeah.
buddies that do it, and I could just picture us in scarves and goggles too.
Oh my God! And leather helmets. I'm dying for it.
Cody with the map in his hand.
Well,
left.
totally. So I don't want to glaze over the. Well, I really like what we're
I
talking
like
about.
glazed
With,
donuts.
yeah, I know. Me too.
Me too.
A couple things. I know how you just destroyed the ethos of Porsche, but you're a BMW guy. I want to know what's going on with like the current ethos of BMW, because personally,
Yeah.
I think that their brand identity has split in a few different ways. Obviously, they have the I division, environmentally friendly. Same, it has that Bauhaus, very Scandinavian light and the materials and, all that stuff. But they used to be the ultimate driving machine. Is
think
that still like
it's still
a
there.
thing?
I think here.
We
here-
honestly, is
No,
the
and
ultimate
I'll-
driving machine still a thing for BMW?
Absolutely.
It's their.
Yeah.
It's their. It's their.
It's still there. It's
slogan?
Still, yeah, it's still there.
We thought they might have tossed that out.
No,
the window.
no. It's still there. I think what's interesting is that BMW is probably, I don't want to say the only brand, because Ford is actually doing some really cool shit. But one of the only brands that is actually really, really taking a look inside. And like it's as if they went to a therapist, okay? And going like, where are we? What are we doing? And so I think what you said is absolutely true. And I think if you look at the models, you'll be like, well, where are they? Where are they? Because
Yeah, there's a 7, an 8, a
No, because
6, a
there's-
5, a 4, a 2, a 2.5.
Yeah.
There's a 1, an X.
and there's a different two here than there is in Europe. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but I think inherently there's an inherent look inside of what is changing, and we are sitting on the precipice of momentous change. Okay, and And that with a growth spurt, it's like, a snake that loses its skin. There's going to be some weirdness, and there's going to be some things, it's funny. I was just
When you say weirdness, what do
Yeah.
you mean exactly?
Well, here's the thing.
Growing pains,
Growing pains.
maybe some strange looking
don't-
puberty.
I know you want to. I know you want to talk about that grill on the M4.
The M4 grill. We're talking about it. M3.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. To me, that's actually not the growth spurt. The thing is that I see. Okay, so I was literally at the dealership, and my dad just got a new 540.
Nice.
And I'm looking at that, and I'm seeing, a lot of the heritage lines and things like that about the car. And then you start to see, well, other cars have lost their Hofmeister King. Like, is this important to the brand? And some people go like, oh my God, it's so important to the brand, and it has to have that grill, and it has to have this, and but that's, again, not the ethos of the brand. And so we have to figure out what is the ethos of the brand, and are they still doing that? Okay, so we talked about the X3. And I just drove an X3 for a week, and I was freaking stunned. I'm a guy that hates SUVs.
2 of my friends just got X3s on my recommendation.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're incredible. Okay, so
Wow.
they're incredible. So I don't want SUVs. Like, I would be like begrudgingly putting against it, and I stopped myself from saying hate because I'm actually changing my tune right now. So interestingly enough, my sister for years had Z4s, okay, and just like loved them.
Great car.
Great car. And then she had a 3 Series and was kind of like, it was a coupe, and she was like, I don't
Mediocre
really
car.
feel. She didn't feel ultimate, okay. And then I said, you know what? Why don't you go for an X3? And this was like 2 years ago. She's like, are you out of your mind? And I'm like, no. I've driven one, and I didn't drive it for a long time. And I seen the reviews. She picked one up and was like, holy shit, this thing drives like crazy. So then right now I did a road trip on one, and I concur, and I was shocked. And I don't know. I would want to talk to the engineers because I don't know how they did it. Because the car, I didn't have a sport one. And so it had like the normal wheels, not the M dampers, all that. And the car still drove incredibly. Like, I would go around corners, no problem.
Wow.
I'm shocked. I'm telling you, I'm shocked.
And it's much
shocked
bigger, like
hearing
we were
this.
just talking
Yeah,
about. It's
so-
literally within inches of the original X5.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's
crazy.
crazy. And so when you ask, are they still ultimate driving machine? I'm like, well, fuck yeah. If they can make an X3 drive like that, that's a lot. That's pushing a lot. And I'm not talking about, like exotic cars like the i8 or like the M5 that, that I had, that you expect it to behave a certain way. This is a car you don't expect to do much. It's a mid-tier SUV, but it drove fucking kick ass. So I think there's like growth spurts, and we're changing, but I'm looking at the future, and I'm like, wow, there's so much investment on their part to be a good Samaritan and to create great products while doing that. And they just followed a bunch of awards on, beyond like being employer of the year, blah, 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 which is great too. But, thinking about the carbon footprint, not only of the car, right? So we talk about Teslas. I just drove up to San Francisco last week, and I see Teslas being delivered going south.
Right. Yeah.
On fucking trucks. They should be going like, that's not okay either, right? So like, what are we doing? And then in the end, a Tesla is just like a unibody car. It's not that exciting to me. So what are they really doing? They're polluting in essence because we're just making more batteries, more unibody cars.
Yeah.
And honestly, the most ecological thing that anybody could do, and everybody in car marketing will hate me for saying it, is to hold on to your car.
Yeah, just don't buy a new
Just
car.
don't buy anything.
Absolutely.
That's the best thing that if you want to do for the earth, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest misconception.
Yeah.
People have like a truck like this, and then they're like, "I'm gonna buy a Tesla because that'll save the earth." No, just don't keep,
buy anything.
just keep that.
your truck.
Right.
Yeah, so
right.
don't buy.
Well, also, I mean, like, especially everybody is convinced that, like, if you drive a Tesla, it's just fantastic for the environment. You're not using any gas, you're not giving off any fumes, but we're still in the infantile stages of this battery technology. We haven't perfected this solid state battery
but
technology.
also the manufacturing. The manufacturing is what's important.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
right? So like,
And you're polluting tons based on the manufacture. They say that like the amount of like pollution that is caused from making the batteries for the Tesla is more than the lifespan of pollution of an 18-wheeler.
I can't even imagine. But one of the things, like as an architect, and this is where I draw a comparison, and this is probably how when I started partnering with BMW, we found the ethos match, right? So there is life cycle of product, life cycle of things. So one of the things that architects contribute to, unfortunately, is this waste, and especially in America, of tear it down, build another one, right? What do you do with all that?
I wanted
stuff?
to talk to you about that.
Yeah, so that's important. And so to me, like, what you got going on
The other side?
All fired up.
Hey, lady, hold on, I'm gonna pick her up.
She's like, "Oh, you're talking about architecture now. That's my favorite topic."
Yeah, so to me, what happens at the end of the life of a product or at the start? So when we built Bridgehouse, it's actually
you wanted to be super low impact, right?
super low impact. But we started
favorite
with that.
part about it.
So the steel that's used to build Bridgehouse is already 89% recycled, 89% recycled steel.
Wow.
That's fucking awesome.
That
right?
is awesome.
Yeah. So like thinking about things like that, so it's like when we're driving around cars, and yeah, leather is great because it lasts a really long time. And for as long as we're consuming leather, we're consuming beef, there is leather left over. So it's great that we're using, let's say, the whole product. I get it. But we also have to think about the future. So is there like a recyclable material? Is there recycled material? How are we going to deal with these cars that are being made? Look, we're not going to change that. People are going to be buying cars and changing technology just like we are with iPhones, right? That's going to continue. But what are we going to do to make sure that what we are ending up with is recyclable or already recycled? That's super important to me.
I think that's part of like how you have paired your ethos up with Bridgehouse and BMW.
Yep.
Obviously, more specifically, like the I division of BMW.
Exactly.
I think like when we, I think a little bit after we met each other, you were doing some projects with the M Vision. Is that what it was?
Yes.
So I think that you had the M Vision parked at the Bridgehouse, and I thought that was awesome because I really the Bridgehouse, just totally separate because I'm just a total nerd for that stuff. I think it's awesome because of the footprint of the house itself. Like, you didn't do too much excavating. It's built like, two small platforms above a stream. So there's really not too much damaging of the land and the foundation and all that to like destroy it. So you have a very low impact, and that also translates well to the ethos behind the I division. But also like the materials that you use in your house, the organic shapes, and the like I said, it's very like Scandinavian Bauhaus. It's very minimalistic, very simple, and I think that that's something that BMW's transferred to the I division, or focused on more heavily with the I division than they have with their other cars. A lot of like the 340. Personally, I think like the 8 Series and the 3 Series and those cars, the infotainment system and the instrument cluster and things, that they all seem kind of confusing, and there's a lot of stuff going on. But when you are in like an i3, or when you're in these new i-designed cars, they're very simple, very clean. The materials, and it's like wood and fabric.
Yeah,
it's super refreshing.
Yeah.
And it harkens back to mid-century modern materials and things like that. So
But
it's
I
just
think,
like,
and I think what they did was really smart is the fact that setting up that division as a platform to test things, right? So you're able to do that, and those things do end up matriculating to the other cars. For example,
like the iVision.
no, the 8 Series or the 7 Series. They have the carbon core, which is what was used to build the i8,
Okay.
So it is going down the path, which is really, really cool.
Right.
And so they're able to test these things on, let's say, niche cars until they make it to market and getting it right. So, yeah, kudos to that. I mean, it's really awesome. And to me, it's really important that, we talked about the materiality. It's like recyclable and finding out, and yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
And I think also, you kind of mentioned it briefly before, and this is another reason. This is also why I have this up here, besides being the inspiration for, your love of cars, but collaboration. So I think that in every single type of business, collaboration is the way to move forward. Sharing your audience,
without a doubt,
getting other people from, if you're interested in this and my audience is interested in this, if we do something together, that's twice the audience. So with your Bridgehouse, what I noticed is that all of the efforts, design efforts you've done in collaboration with other companies, whether it's the materials that you use, the lamps on your wall, the fixtures, the living wall that you have on there, it's all collaborative efforts in order to, I guess, get more exposure for other brands, but everybody is helping everybody.
Yeah.
But also, like you see here, like BMW is doing things to kind of step outside the box and collaborate with people who they might not normally collaborate with in order to reach more niche audiences like Ronnie and Kith and things like that. I think that's something really cool.
It's really cool. And yeah,
it's like collaborate or die, honestly. Like,
yeah, I mean, I made a mistake early on in my career. I led with my ego, and I thought that like, I'm going to be creator of all. And I said that in the story, right, about the car and, the architect of why I chose it. Yeah. And slowly but surely, I realized that the biggest growth and the best end result, regardless of sharing of the story, the best end result is if I find people that are better than me at doing certain things and working with them. It only gets better because of that, right? So you got to be in a place where you're a little bit uncomfortable in order to push yourself to the next level. And I, we're pushing and pulling on all the different kinds of things at my architecture firm. And with Bridgehouse, I called upon 65 different sponsors.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Who worked with us to make this project, and I literally was a producer, right? So like, how do I pull all these different brands to share the same ethos, to share the same story? And so it was a collaborative effort in order to find products and find design things and elements that could show people that, hey, you know what, the house of the future, the house that is net zero, which is meaning that
is it net zero?
It is.
Wow.
And it's actually something that it's funny when we started sharing the story, I did not want to mention that to a lot of people because I didn't know if it's going to work.
So it has a zero carbon footprint.
No. Net zero means that it's using today it's a zero carbon footprint. And then again, why I'm very cautious.
Like the collective water system on top, and you have all that.
But the reason why I don't want to say it's zero carbon footprint because it took a lot of carbon footprint to build it.
Make it. Right. For sure.
But man, kudos to you also for understanding how the land mass is affected by a house, because that was one of the things.
Way to go, Cody.
I was kind of in real estate development for a little bit.
No, that's really good. So actually, you'd be interested to know we're doing the reverse of Bridgehouse, which is a seesaw house.
Oh, like cantilevered edges.
That's
awesome.
So building on top of a mountain and only touching one spot, and then boom and boom.
That's awesome.
So we're trying again, like seeing like what could we push, the limits of thinking these things.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what Harvard School of Architecture. So it's funny because that's like kind of how we spoke. I think we met through like Damon.
Yeah.
And you were rocking the 993, the red 993. You had the whole Red or Dead thing going.
It's still got it going on. I mean,
it's pretty awesome. You go check it out,
rad, man.
But yeah, and then we started talking about because me and Damon also share a love for mid-century everything, and and he loves mid-century architecture and stuff. And then we started talking about who I was using to build the houses I was developing.
Correct.
And apparently he went to Harvard Architecture and you went there also. And it's a small world, man.
It is.
Wicked.
So how did you, how did the connection between Bridgehouse and BMW come about?
Okay, let's see. Okay. Well, you pulled up that E30. You know, we have that up here, the M3, and so for me, it's always been, you know, following your heart and following your passion and the things that you're connected to. So the backstory is that when I moved to the States and I didn't speak English, I remember during recess I was drawing up. Sorry, there was another friend of mine, Ken Takahashi, who was Japanese, and the only way we communicated is through drawing. And we would draw the face of that E30 to the point that off of memory, I got all the details, you know, like let's do it again. And that was, you know, that was our 15-minute conversation of pen and paper.
That's
drawing.
so cool.
Yeah. And so, and at that point, by the way,
cars are a universal language is what he's saying.
In a way, yeah, it was. That design was like everything. And at that point, you know, like honestly, like I never in my life dreamt of owning a BMW at all. You know, we came here with like nothing, and
not a shekel.
Yeah. And amazingly, you know, things have changed, and you know, working hard and pushing your limits. But okay, so, and then I've owned a ton of BMWs throughout the years, and always enjoyed, you know, the driving experience. And then when it was time to put together the whole Bridgehouse and trying to think about, you know, the ethos of net zero, the ethos of recycled materials, I literally reached out to them, reached out to the West Coast marketing group, and it was a cold call, you know, and that's how all of those connections happened to all of the different brands.
That's awesome.
You gotta ask.
LinkedIn. I found the name, Lindsay Covington, and head of marketing in the West Coast, and send a note. This is what we're doing. I got a reply. Got on a phone call, made another conversation, and I ended up talking to the East Coast.
I mean, you have so much to offer. You know, you can't, you know, a lot of it's funny because you're like, yeah, you know, I just kind of cold call these people, but anybody can't just cold call somebody and be like, hey, you want to work with me? And then get a yeah. It's like hey, you want to work with me on like the freaking coolest project ever? And I have like the cool, you know, like you definitely had a lot to offer them. So
yeah, thank you. I mean, to me, it was I called him being the 8-year-old boy that drew E30s. You know what I mean? In my mind, that was.
You were just like so excited.
Yeah, in my mind, that was that.
Were you
boy.
nervous?
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because I didn't have a go-to second.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
And it was the same thing actually when I applied to Harvard. I didn't apply
to any other schools.
No, it was. That's what I
wanted.
wanted.
Either this or I'm a failure.
No, it's either this or I'll wait another year, you know, or I won't
stop until I get there.
I won't stop until I get there.
That's good.
That's badass.
That's a better.
And then actually I remember they were like, are you coming to Monterey Car Week? I'm like, of course. And I got in the car and made sure to make it to my meetings. And that was the time I had the F10 M5. And I remember I'm like, I got to wash it before I meet them. I wash it. And then sure enough, it's parking lot on a dirt road. And I'm like, oh God, like I did all of this for nothing. I wanted to show my pride, you know, I wanted to show like, wow, I'm so happy. And that was before, you know, we ended up collaborating.
So it was just like immediate, you didn't think of anybody else. You were just like, this is the brand that I want to work with.
Yeah. And it's awesome. Honestly, it's because of the knowing at the time what the i3 meant. And you know, in regular media, all they cover is talking about, well, it's only 60 mile range.
I was gonna say, like, I didn't really hear too much about like the environmental impact or lack thereof of the i3.
I want you to do your homework because you should figure out what the car is made out of.
Yeah.
See how much recyclability there is inherent in it. Why the interior of that car uses completely different materials than everywhere else. There's a lot. And so to me, I was like, I want to get into that world.
That's awesome. Yeah. I never really knew that either.
I'm interested
That's shocking.
I'm interested to see like the future. Obviously they've had a couple of these like concepts, the iX, which has been causing a stir. But I mean, besides that, like you said, like the i4, is that what it was?
Yeah, it's coming soon.
So like, are they going to continue with the i3, or are they gonna phase that out?
The i3, this is the last year, I believe, 2021.
So it's gonna be phased out. Are they gonna add another like kind of miniature
I don't know.
electric car? You don't know, or you can't say?
I don't actually. On this one, I don't know.
Because it was like an interesting segment. I think it worked.
I think it's amazing.
I think it worked out pretty well for them.
Think about this as a designer. Think about it like it's a manageable package.
I loved it as a designer.
I
thought
did
it was designed really well.
And by the way, everybody again like was like, "What is this? It's ugly. It's wrong. The windows are weird."
It's so cool.
Many cars are out there following the lines of the windows.
Yeah.
In the way
that
it's
curved
everywhere.
up.
By the way, the whole Toyota segment is the I division. If I wish they were here and I could just point like looking at the Camry front and all these lines.
Is Toyota and BMW like a thing, or was that just a Supra?
Just a Supra.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if there was any other incestuous.
Which is so weird, right? Have you been inside the new Supra?
I have not. I have
Yeah,
not.
you have. Yeah, you have.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're right.
We
I
had
have,
one
but
on set here
but
a
like
while
not
ago.
for long enough to evaluate it or really.
No, but it's funny because it's just
it feels
a
like a BMW. Yeah.
with lower tier
Yeah,
plastics.
especially like the
Yep.
shifter, the shape
But
of the
it's the same
shifter, the
stuff.
shape of
The
the
same
steering.
noise.
Yeah.
The pring.
Yeah.
when
It
you
even
get in.
it is the same stuff.
Here's
the
the stuff. Okay,
BMW
so
symbols on
are on
every
it.
single
Yeah.
piece.
But this attention to detail is one of the things that I like is the fact that did you guys know that Hans Zimmer does the sounds of the new I-Series cars?
So like
What? Really?
the fake sounds.
All you said the ding, all of
Yeah.
the sounds.
Oh, really?
Because-
really?
Because
I like it more now.
because cars that don't have petrol don't have sound, but sound is an emotion. Sound is still there. So for me,
Yeah.
again, one of the things that rings true to me is, and we should walk Bridgehouse, is the fact of I play with sound. So I play
Gotcha.
with sound. Like when you drive up to Bridgehouse, if the windows are open, you'll hear the gate open and it makes a, there's a certain sound to that and it's a rhythm. Then you drive and you'll see that there's a cobblestone-ish kind of thing, and so you feel that on your wheels, like tick, 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 tick,
Like pavers and stuff.
pavers that have rain that come through them.
Oh, okay.
That we actually
Like
co-developed.
the grass pavers with the
No,
little
you
holes
can't. You
in
can't
the middle.
actually. If you put the grass in California, then it's basically shooting yourself in the foot. Like, why did you do it in the first place?
Yeah.
But then there is gravel. So there's different textures and different sounds, which
Sure.
is really important. So I think it's really cool. How many cars have you got into and you're like, ding, ding, ding? And you're like, fuck.
And you're like,
I understand.
I'm in
I
a
need-
BMW. Yeah.
It's like annoying.
Yeah,
Like,
especially BMW.
yeah, and some of them are. Yeah, some of the older stuff. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I have an older Mercedes, and it goes like,
Oh,
Oh,
my
I know
God.
exactly
You know,
that.
that's
I know
buzzer.
exactly
Yeah.
that noise you're talking
I
about.
was gonna ask you about your ETH.
Yeah. Actually, I've decided to. Okay, so this is funny. I
Getting
actually
rid
took
of
it.
it?
No.
Okay.
I took it out of storage
Thank
on Saturday,
Okay.
and it has 98,000 miles. I'm the second owner of it. The
God
original,
bless.
the original owner was actually the Max Factor family, Phyllis Factor, and the car is like brand new. And I've been holding on to it, not driving it like a moron, okay? Because I do enjoy it. It's different. It's like a Mercedes
Great
boat.
car, man.
It's a great car. I've literally just decided this past week to just drive it and
Good
just
for you.
fucking enjoy it. And
Good
I'm
stuff.
gonna cross that 100,000 miles, and I don't care.
Nice.
I don't
Hell
care.
yeah, you're
Fuck
not
it.
trying to sell it. Just
No,
enjoy
Just
it.
enjoy it.
That's one of those cars that's like at this point now it's a timeless design.
Yeah.
It's as long as the convertible top is still working.
Yeah, and by the way, I fixed it myself. I changed all the hydraulics
Oh,
myself.
hell
there
yeah.
you go.
Power.
So you're,
Yeah.
Hell
man, you're
yeah.
in a good place.
Yeah.
And I love that body style. That's
I love
like,
that car.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I
No,
have-
it's I still don't understand it, guys. It was a $90,000 car in 1994. Okay, hand finished. So a lot of people say handmade. No, it's not handmade. They took the coupe, they cut
Yeah,
it. Anyway, but it was $90,000 in 1994. That's a
it's not grass fed.
No.
It's grass finished.
So it was a shit ton of money. There weren't a lot of them. How are they not worth more?
And yeah, and they're not going for too much. They're slowly on the
so
rise.
slow. Okay, so
So-
I bought it for 10, I bought it for 10,000.
One of these, right? One of these.
I
right?
am frustrated.
So slow.
It doesn't make sense.
Everyone, go on, buy one quick.
But that thing, that thing is fine. You know that
Yeah,
thing's
yeah.
going up.
No, it's just weird to me. Car values is such a weird because here's the thing: when I bought it, okay, the 1970s version of it, the 280 CE,
Yes.
is worth $500,000.
I was gonna say those are highly sought after.
What the fuck?
Well, those are a really beautiful car.
I
man.
guess this is not that beautiful.
I mean, well, this is like the This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
like
I get it.
You know, it's like that '80s ugly is cool, and then '90s were like, let's clean it up a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like, you know, that's why it has this charming attitude, but I think it also lends itself to the people that were growing up in that generation.
Yeah, probably.
You really like it
Yeah,
because
because of that.
you
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
when it was new
Yeah.
and remember when
Yeah.
it was groundbreaking,
Yeah.
and you still enjoy it like that. And like, I feel the same way too. I mean, like, all right, so my 94 E320 wagon,
Oh, I love that.
red with the tan interior,
Yeah.
with the dark tan interior. So the reason I love that is because I remember when my grandmother bought that car brand
Yeah, we
new.
talked about that. Yeah.
And and through the years, you know, when I was younger and I didn't appreciate it as much, it was always like, hey, grandma, the new E-Class is out. Like, why wouldn't you get
Why
that
wouldn't you
one?
get-
Like,
yeah.
it's got round lights. Like, it looks so much more modern. Oh, the new one is out. The round lights are slanted back. And like, every time they would come out with a new E-Class, we're like, grandma, why don't you just get a new car? She's like, I like this one. It's beautiful. It works perfectly. And I'm so freaking happy. that she
Such
kept it.
no, it's the quality of the
Oh my God.
materials. What the
Insane.
fuck? It's so good.
It was built to
yeah,
it was
no.
literally built
Yeah.
to last
Yeah.
1,000
Yeah.
years.
No, the car is great. The car is it's really really fun. I'm just I'm frustrated.
But now you have two fun cars. So
Oh no, this is no. I still have the Porsches. Yeah, I still.
so now you have three fun cars.
and the G50. I actually have.
Oh, so did you get the G-Wagon?
Yes.
You have it.
It's coming in 3 months. So no, I have right now I have the G50, which the 1987
okay.
red one, which I don't drive.
I didn't know that you had that.
Yeah, it's sitting around doing collecting dust.
Okay.
Literally.
God.
The 993 C4S, which is just a fucking amazing car. I love it. You know, it's a smile maker.
Do you take
Yep,
it out
yep.
a lot?
A lot. That one has 103,000 miles on it, and I don't give a fuck.
She's a keeper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who cares? Yeah.
I don't care. I
No,
mean, and
that's
I've dialed that thing in. Like
that's
it's
a keeper.
it's a keeper. It's got a lot of little bits and pieces in there from anyway, a lot of cool stuff. That one I drive a lot. The E36 I drive a shit ton. You saw I just crossed 100,000 miles on
What's
that
like
thing.
your daily?
The E36.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's it, you know. And then now I'm gonna start using the W124, the Cabrio, a little bit more. I'm like, fuck it. I've committed.
That's a
to
good
that.
car to put
Yeah.
miles on because
Yeah.
it's just cozy.
It's cozy.
Compared to that, it's going to be
Oh
just
my
like
God.
a Rolls
Yeah,
Royce.
yeah. And no, and so the G-Wagon, it's actually so funny. It's been I found one out in Europe and they're taking forever. It's like, well, we'll fix this thing. I did like a PPI, right?
Yeah.
And they found all these parts, all these things, little tiny things. I sent them back to the dealer. I'm like, you got to fix these things. They're like, okay, fine. And
So tell us a little about the G-Wagon, like what it looks like, what it's got.
okay, so this one, it's a
For the people, because I know what it is.
Yeah, it's, okay, so it's a short wheelbase G-Wagon, 320. It's the same engine actually as a W124, same time period, 1994.
Short wheelbase, meaning it's a two doors.
Exactly. It's a two-door, so it's not like what you see out there, out and about. It has a really like upright cartoon kind of a look, which I really
It's
enjoy.
awesome.
And then I have
It reminds me of like the Suzuki Samurai.
absolutely, and I love that car.
I love it
The,
too.
the
I want one.
Trooper, the Trooper,
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
the Isuzu Trooper, that was a cool
Yeah,
car.
hell yeah.
So as I said, I said at the beginning, I hate SUVs, and I inherently do
And you
because.
just got
But yeah, I know. And so here's my thinking with this one is, it's one of those like checklists that I've wanted. I remember them back in the day before they became the whatever they are today, where everybody.
Well,
had
you're
it.
still that one that you're talking about. It still has like the safari type
Yes,
seats, a
yes,
stripped out
yes,
interior.
yes.
Doesn't it's not
No.
the G-Wagon.
No, it's not the G-Wagon of today.
Yeah, it's the original.
And so
like,
my idea is actually to modify it quite a bit and to make it more of that. Enjoy it and take it on excursions and things like that for
Nice.
a year.
Nice.
And then let's see what I do with it. Either I, sell it. And, I don't know. I'm very bad at selling cars.
So you're not super emotionally attached to it, but it's just one of those cars that like you always wanted to mess around with.
Yes.
So now
Whereas, let's say the G50, emotionally
Yeah.
attached, 993, emotionally attached, E36, incredibly emotionally attached, that little model thing, incredibly attached, and I have a hard time.
that
though.
one's coming home with me. Sorry.
I want to add water and make it grow, but no,
If only it were that easy.
I know, right? No, but they're worth too much now.
They
really
are
are,
way
yeah.
overpriced.
So that's and I missed the
They're not
boat.
worth too much. They're overpriced is
Yeah.
what it's
Yeah,
because they're not worth what they're
No.
going for
So
right
it's,
now.
It's killing me. So
It's a great car, but
I know.
it's okay. So
Go ahead.
if that's killing you, let's get some lighter news. Even though it's not BMW, it still is gonna lead me to a BMW
Good.
question.
We should. Yeah. Let's go on to.
So, recently a couple cars have been announced. One of which is the Hennessy Venom F5. Do you know anything about it?
Nope. Just
Okay.
got released today. It has a 6.6. I'm just going to do some stats. 6.6 liter twin turbo V8. The engine's called Fury.
Oh my
It
God.
produces over 1,700 horsepower at 8,000 RPM. And
So are they doing
11
this a Viper?
no,
Or a
this is
Corvette?
like this
This
is
is like-
a
their
full
own.
on. This is their own, and it's gonna.
It's a totally new body, and you know how they did it originally. Where
there was
it
one at
kinda
Car
like
Week
that
a while
stretched
ago.
out Lotus.
Yes.
So it's a similar shape, but it doesn't look like a Lotus.
There
at
was
all.
one at
Holy
Car Week
shit.
2 years ago. There's a yellow one on the concept line, but
Yes.
the only reason why this just came out today, so we try to get some car news on here. But this is gonna try and shatter the 300 mile an hour. This is trying to be the new land speed record car,
Oh,
basically.
wow.
Your voice
So-
keeps cracking, man. Are
Is
you
it
going
really?
through? Are you in the middle of going through puberty as we
I
speak?
think I am. But the other car that just got released the other day too is the AMG Project One. That's another hypercar that Lewis Hamilton's making.
It's been released a million years ago.
there's-
but
Yeah, I
finally,
remember-
finally, they're
finally-
announcing that
okay.
they're gonna start.
Make it.
I guess
Yeah.
I guess the reason why we put both of these in here is because okay, they're two hypercars. You don't seem like a guy who really gives a shit
I don't
about a
give a shit.
hypercar.
Yeah.
We kind of
Mm.
like hypercars. We can appreciate them. I'm lucky enough to have driven some, but like where is BMW in all these hypercar world? You just said how the i8's not supposed to be a supercar because a lot of people think it is. Why doesn't BMW try and get into
It's a
some
good
of this?
question. I don't know. I think it's a waste of money. I don't think it's. I don't know. The last time I think they really did that was probably the M1.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like if they are the
That was
ultimate.
the Italian German.
I was gonna say the
It's
greatest.
driving. Hold on. It's not the ultimate racing machine, right?
No.
So
That's true. That's true. That's
you know,
true.
So it's
That's
a
a good point.
BMW is a driver's car, not a
Mhm.
racer's car,
Mhm,
right? So it's a
mhm.
car made for you to go on a day to day and make you smile.
Right.
You
okay.
know, and I think that's where it's important to think. And to me, and I never even thank you for pointing it out because I never really equated it like, hey, how come BMW doesn't have it, or like, why am I connected, let's say, to this brand in essence? I don't think it's important.
It's not. But I think
I think it's a lot of marketing.
I think it's important for a brand to
It
have a
is.
Halo car
yes,
though.
yes,
Halo
yes, it is.
cars
Yes,
and
it is.
trickle down
Not
technology.
necessarily like.
Yes,
I don't think
but
anyone.
to spend R&D money on a car that has 1,700 horsepower that can get to 300 miles an hour.
that nobody's gonna drive that fast.
I don't know
and-
what that does for us today.
Totally,
Especially when it's petrol. Like
Yeah.
do it with electricity.
Yeah.
Like I would then be like, you know what? That's awesome because if they're pushing that electric motor to the limits, that means we could get it later to trickle down for our daily driving
Right.
cars.
Yeah. The
So
Venom's only 10 years late, and
No.
the Mercedes is actually a hybrid.
That's
I'm
awesome.
It is, but
Yeah, the Mercedes
So-
I think is a V6 and it's a hybrid.
That's awesome.
Yes,
So
yes.
that was one of the things that to me was a little bit upsetting about the Singer, the DLR.
Oh yeah.
the DLS.
DLS.
I wished it was electric.
Oh,
And
see,
I
love
know
it.
I'm an
I love
asshole
it.
for saying it, but
Just
I'm-
because of how modern it was.
Also, the price, man. It should be a freaking hybrid. It's like,
Like,
it's
they're
a million. It's a
yeah,
million
I
five.
don't know.
right?
They should be pushing on that.
The performance upgrades that you can get from a hybrid electric system are just insane.
Insane.
So,
So
when you can develop a car for $1 million
But I
bucks
think
and
the
you're
people,
not taking
but
advantage
probably
of that,
the people buying a Singer don't
I know.
want. You know. What
I
I
know,
mean?
but I wished inherently. I wish
Yeah.
that was the thing. Like, so. Yeah, if there was somebody was making a hypercar that pushed those limits, and then that later, let's say one of these other brands like maybe Canoe or somebody else would be like, you know what, we're gonna buy that brand.
Right.
And we're gonna learn from them, and then we're gonna do something.
I think actually
they
Singer,
kinda-
through the grapevine from one of our clients, they're working on an electric car, I believe, and they will also make your Singer now electric once they have that done.
See, that's awesome.
I've heard that from a client
There's a few
because he
different-
sold it. He was like,
That's
you can't get it registered here. The cats, it's like you have to
Oh,
take the
the
cats off, all this
Singer
stuff.
issues.
And he
Oh
was
my
like, it's a
God,
pain in the
they're
ass, but
Yeah.
like I wanted to get it turned electric, but the technology's not there yet. So I think they're looking at that,
That's awesome.
which is interesting, which is really actually cool of them.
Well, there's a company that's developed. I mean, not that I would put it in a Singer right away, but there is a company that's developed this like electric platform that is essentially universal to any car that you want to put it in.
EV West, is that the brand? No, because they're doing a
Can't
lot of it.
remember. I can't remember, but they showed up at. There was like a Bollinger Motors had showed
Oh,
up
yes.
to Malibu Country Mart, and then right next to them there was a silver Bronco, and then that silver Bronco was built on this platform
Cool.
that. In advertisement that I saw, there was a bunch of different cars, and it was basically like, you can give us any car and we can put this electric platform onto your car. But I mean, I think you're right. I think that so for Mercedes, I think that it was actually this F1 technology. I think it is a hybrid technology. The biggest issue, the hurdle that they had is that it's an F1 engine. It's not meant to like idle at a stoplight.
That's why I was pushed back. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
6
That's why
years.
they kept taking so long. But Mercedes has a really good chance to eventually trickle down that technology into their other cars.
But
you
I
know?
wish what Mercedes did was actually rethink the manufacturing and the body and things like that. Because if you look at their electrification, it's
Yeah.
just an E-Class with a battery pack.
it's
Total-
so true.
100%.
Yeah, it's
So
tired.
what
It's
are they
pretty-
doing? Like, to me, it's and that's sad, you know. And it's no different than a Camry with a hybrid battery pack. It's
Totally.
And the battery pack is freaking piss poor too.
I
It's
know.
it's
It's
kind
kinda
of
fun,
helps.
though.
It kind of helps you get off the line a little bit. It
It's
doesn't
kinda
really.
sad.
It doesn't do what it should do.
I think
mean,
it's marketing. I think it's just
It
a
is,
way
but they need
to
to-
convince
I don't
people,
know.
hey, we have an electric option, or hey,
Yes.
you have electric assist, so these people feel more comfortable. And I think it's just a transition, you know, like
Yeah.
our technology is going to get better. They're throwing it in
But here
prematurely because it's like,
it is premature. But that's one of the things that I think BMW was right about, was basically saying like, okay, look, we are a mechanical engineering company. Let's think about what we know about manufacturing cars instead of thinking about the battery pack. Okay, so like the i3 was not heavily, you know, it couldn't go far, right? The range wasn't good because the batteries weren't good. Guess what? Nobody made good batteries at the time.
yeah,
But they got a head start in thinking about how to build a car of the future. Okay, and that was the inherent bones, and that's how things are important. That's why humans look the way we are. That's why things evolve the way we are. The structure is what's important, and it goes back to, you know, the architecture. So that stuff is really, really, really important. And, you know, we saw, you know, in the hyper category, the Spider, the
918.
Yeah, the 918. That's exciting too to me because it's built thinking about those things. So that car is a very important Porsche in my book, because it is a hybrid. It's rethinking about the structure. It's doing all of those things instead of saying, you know what, here's a Macan with electrification.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I know.
There's nothing to it. It
I-
sucks.
and I'm also interested in seeing like how long those cars are going to last. I mean, if you have an F40, it's going to last forever as long as you have a gas tank and maybe like
Yeah.
a change of
I mean,
battery.
that's a whole other thing. I mean,
yeah,
no,
you have
no,
a 918 in
and this is-
20 years that battery's
No.
half-life has
forget
depleted,
about the battery.
you
Think
know?
about, and this is why I inherently think 90s cars are going to be worth a shit ton, is because like the newer cars, what if the speedometer breaks?
Yeah.
There's that screen.
That yeah,
it's
exactly. A full
gone.
digital
It's
screen
gone.
like
It's
you
gone.
don't have
We
anything.
did talk about
In
that
a
one time.
in
You're
a
absolutely right.
Tesla?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? Like in some of these cars, like the Tesla, like they didn't do it's a normal like computer screen. Like it's not
it's a
made
17-inch.
Yeah, like it's not made
For
for
the heat
the,
or-
extreme heat,
Yeah.
and they were having all those problems. And it's like, if you're in a Tesla where you literally have one screen and nothing else,
Yeah.
and that screen goes off, you can't
You're
do
fucked. Yeah.
anything.
By the way, yeah.
You don't
by
know
the
how
way,
fast you're going. You don't know the AC. You don't know the radio. You probably can't even
Yeah.
lock and unlock your
No,
doors.
No,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
sucks. And you need to have. And part of the reason they do it, it's funny. The gimmick of it, people love it. They're like, oh my god, a screen. Blah, blah, blah. It's cheap. The
Yeah.
screen is so much cheaper than mechanical buttons.
It's
Or
so true.
design.
Yeah.
but you need
The screen eliminates all
design.
needed
But you
for
need
design.
the buttons. Like I want to be able to put my hand on my shifter and be able to tell that is the seat heater. That is the air
100%.
And it's
100%.
funny. My dad gave up after 2 Teslas because he got sick and tired of waking up in the morning, and there's a software update, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden the button is slightly over. Like you're using your iPhone all this time, and the evolution of it is so slow that you could type without looking and you could feel without doing all
That's
that
true.
stuff
That's
because
true.
they've only incrementally done it. Tesla is thinking like, oh my God, we're going to wake up in the morning, there's going to be the new OS, and all of a sudden the button is here. And you're like, fuck. And that's unsafe because
It
you
is.
used to be
Yeah.
able to just tap
Yeah,
and
you're-
go.
Even
The
that's
way-
even that's hard to get to.
Yeah.
I was
right?
gonna say, but just like if you watch what he's doing, he's like looking straight ahead, and the fact that there's something tactile there that he can feel and say, okay, I need to adjust this. Here's
Yeah.
the button. You don't need to take your eyes off
Yep.
the road. It's
No,
a complete
it's yeah.
distraction to have everything center console.
You know
like
what's
that.
interesting is I was telling you guys I had the X3 recently, and now I had a rental Cadillac, and now I'm driving also the E36 and the W124. What the fuck were they thinking in the Cadillac? The blinker is in a completely wrong spot.
What do you mean?
It's like all the way up. So you have to have your hand if you want to use
Like the shifter,
The
like
blinker
the blinker
stock.
thing,
Yeah,
or the
blinker
actual
sto-
light?
No, the
Oh,
blinker
so it's
stock.
not where your finger would be right
No.
here. It's up here.
It's up. Yeah, it's
That's
totally
stupid.
Oh,
flawed.
that's
Yeah.
weird.
Kind of
And-
Range Rovers do that too. They're like, when you have the steering wheel straight on the new Range Rovers, they don't look centered. They look like, so it looks like one's
it's
always
just-
up.
Oh,
It-
that older Mercedes had that too.
You
By
know?
the way, one is higher than the other.
Yeah.
And it makes sense actually.
But it's just intuitively where your hands are.
on the Cadillac, you actually have to
like
raise your hand up and go down.
Yeah,
That's stupid.
So
Stupid. It
There
mis-
has to be.
Yeah.
All right, we're running out of time.
Oh no.
Really quick. You talk quick. We all talk quick on this show. The thing is, we have a last question
Ooh.
we ask everybody, and we have to run through it kind of quickly.
Okay, let's go. Go.
Cody, ask it.
Oh man, but is
I
it
know
this
we have
question?
so many. No, our last question.
Our last normal question.
Yes.
I kind of want to ask this one because this is kind of like my thing.
Then
All right,
ask
I'm
it.
gonna ask this and then I'm
Extra
gonna ask the
innings.
last question. Yeah, we're taking this one for the team. So, do you like wagons?
I love wagons.
Okay, so
Check.
why the hell did BMW decide that this was the year to stop sending wagons to the U.S.?
It wasn't this year.
It was last. It was last year.
But there is the M3 wagon, which let's see what happens.
That sounds like it might come here, folks.
I mean, all right. So last year they did announce that
He's
they
grinning.
were no longer going to produce the 3 Series wagon for the States. I mean, I'm liking the facial expressions that you have. This is all very exciting. The only thing is that
I better put
I
my mask on.
I still have to warm up to the. You can't even call them kidneys anymore. They're lungs. They're officially lung grills.
They're thunder thighs.
Yeah. They're Bugs.
love
They're
wagons.
Bugs
Yeah.
Bunny teeth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it. Like it's definitely it's exciting. It's exciting to know that that's a potential. All right, final question.
Yes.
We ask all our guests. We give you 3 cars, ultimate 3-car garage. Money is no object, and
Okay.
you can have a spare 2 if you need it.
If you really need
What do you
it.
mean? So you could have 5?
You
We
can have
want
5.
we want you to pick 3, but we know that's like
Okay,
the most
I do-
difficult thing for a car person.
Unfortunately, one of them is going to be probably tacky, and it's going to be the 300 SL. And
That's totally
That's
fine.
fine.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not the
freaking
McLaren
badass
F1.
car.
it has to be there. It has to be there.
I totally agree.
If you said the McLaren F1, we would have just been like, all right, goodbye.
No,
Besides,
McLaren.
that's BMW's hypercar.
It's true.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
that's
but-
what I was
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
say.
good
Is that
point.
that's
Good one.
really
Yeah.
BMW's hypercar.
But yeah, no McLarens on the list.
No check engine lights. All right, so
maybe, you know what? It's going to be a 507, the BMW 507.
Hell yeah, man. Those are
Okay, so-
sick.
So I want
The
those-
that's the
yeah.
ultimate Beamer,
Yeah.
man.
that one that just went for a mil
See that?
5 or
Jesus.
something.
Supposedly they go for like 3.
Yeah,
That's
they're
what-
going too much. Okay, so I got 2. Oh, man, I don't know. This is really.
So you can maybe
You have
maybe
2
you
classics.
You have 2
I know.
classics.
That-
Something to drive
something-
around in normally.
These are dream cars, man.
I I know.
Well, like a
You're
fun.
you could drive around an F40 every day if
you
it's
could
your
take
dream
that
car.
off road if you want. Who
I
cares?
was about to say, I actually really do love not the Ford GT, the newer one, the one after this.
Really?
Oh, you like the new one?
Yeah,
really, the
I love it.
V6?
Yeah, I'll take that one.
Wow.
That's we'll put that on the list.
Wow.
Wait, wait,
See,
wait.
I would take
Fucking-
that
Why-
30 times out of 10 over
Why
that
the new
thing.
one over this one?
The design is just insane.
The design
It
is
really is.
great.
Okay, so this one is beautiful because it's a heritage car. Okay, it took the original car and they did a fine
It's the exact
job.
copy,
Yeah,
essentially.
they did a great job. The interior, by the way, I love the interior. If you guys know,
Me too. Yeah.
Mark Newson,
Yeah, of course.
there's a lot of stuff in there that somebody definitely cribbed off of him.
For sure, I could see
Look
that.
it up.
100%.
They cribbed off him. And by the way, Mark Newson did design a car for Ford, a prototype
Yeah.
they never released. So there's something in there. But the new one, oh my God, the flying buttress, the way it's a design.
The buttresses are insane.
The
I
car
mean,
is
it looks like
amazing.
a
It's a design feat
airplane.
because they put the V6 in there. Everyone's like, they should have a V8, but if it had the V8, it wouldn't have that look.
No,
It wouldn't be
okay,
able to
so there you
shoehorn
go.
the
Yeah.
V6. You know what I mean?
So who cares?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. I haven't driven one.
I haven't. I actually was just poking around one today. Actually, it's a Gulf livery one as well.
So if there's a chance for me to drive one, anybody, let me know. 'Cause
Yeah.
I really, I was probably. That's
If
gonna be-
anybody hears this,
Yes, let
Dan
me know.
Brunn would really like to drive a new Ford GT.
And then
Yeah.
I'll take it after him, and then Cody, you could film.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I really want one.
it's
Yeah.
not stick, so I
Okay,
can
so
drive
those are
it.
the three. Those
All
are my
right.
three.
Fantastic
I don't need
three.
to
You
add
don't
any
even
more.
need an extra two.
No.
I
That's
like that.
great.
Short, crisp, to the
Yeah.
point.
You got a BMW in there. You got some impeccable classics worth a ton,
Yeah.
and you got a fun guy.
Yeah.
Good
I
stuff.
like it.
Man.
That is really good. Check all the boxes.
Yeah.
All right,
I think
well,
that's our show.
yeah.
Dan,
Thank you guys.
thank you
This
so
was
much
a pleasure.
thank you for coming on. I learned a lot about BMW today, mainly about the materials and how they last. I didn't know any of that, so thank you.
Cool.
I actually truly learned something today.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
agree. I didn't know that BMW cared so much about the environment.
I have a lot more respect for them because me writing this episode, Cody was like, "Dude, we can't just like shit on BMW the whole time." And I was like,
Well, you could have, and I could have,
Yeah,
defended
yeah.
I just
or,
think
or
that they've
agreed on
made.
certain things.
I just
don't
think
know.
they've made some poor design
right,
choices
right,
in
but,
the past. and
but you truly saved their butts and you made them. I'm more interested in now in the i8, and I really
Awesome.
was not.
I
at
wish I
all
still
before.
had it because I would have given you a ride right now. I totally enjoyed that.
Yeah,
car,
that's amazing.
yeah.
Did you get any chance of the M8 or like an 8 Series, like the new 8 Series at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
M8 competition, incredible car too.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Frickin'
I hear that thing
That
hauls.
thing moves.
Insanity. Insanity.
Car and driver 0 to 60 2.4 seconds.
Is that right?
That's
Yeah,
insane.
when they did a test, yeah, they had
What
they
the
gave them.
fuck?
That's Ferrari
It's
fast.
frickin' that's
supercar
Taycan fast,
I
man.
had
That's
no idea.
yeah. Look it up. Road and Track or Car and Driver did.
So
did.
what is the DBS that we were just talking about?
The DBS is probably 3.1.
Oh my god, I had no idea.
Like a lot of cars straddle the 3.2, and then like when you get sub 3,
Then
you're hyper.
doing
I think
something.
I think the Turbo S, the new Turbo S does 2.5.
that I knew.
See, back in the
That
day,
for sure.
who was driving the car used to make all the difference. Whoever was shifting, whoever was
Not
doing all
anymore.
that. But now it doesn't matter.
Frickin'
You
push
can
a
have
button, bro, you're
anybody,
flying.
and the car just does what it's supposed
Yeah.
to do. All right. Well,
All right, guys.
this was great
Thank you.
to end on, and thank you for coming again.
My pleasure.
Guys, make sure to give him a follow. We're gonna put all of his stuff in the comments and here, name, Instagram here. Anything you want to plug, your websites,
just-
anything.
We like to
happy.
pantomime the pictures and the the tags that are gonna come
No,
up.
just honestly, it's a pleasure. Really good, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And thanks for bringing Woof Bader.
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
he's so cute.
she.
She.
You don't know who you don't know who Woof Bader Ginsburg is?
Excuse me.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. My name is Lorenzo Iacomini, aka the Speedy Guidi, and this is my co-host Cody Lewis, aka the Car Spotter.
I'm just the guy in the back. I'm the Jamie that pulls up pictures. All
the
right,
electrical
guys.
guy.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for
Peace.
watching.
Thank you.
That was awesome, man. Thanks so much.
It's so good every time you remove.